I want to talk about one more subject that I think we both can relate to working in the industry. It's related to mental health, and that is burnout. You
Oh
know,
my gosh. Yes.
keeping your team engaged and
Yeah.
excited and inspired and touched and moved and driven and connected and maintaining that sense of team. It's so common to get burnt out in the event industry, to have these roller coaster rides of emotion and energy. And what I want to know, Hong, is how do you approach it from Shiloh events
Yeah.
and your 15 plus years in the industry?
Yeah. I mean, I want to go back to the word Shiloh, which means peace. And so, in order to really survive, thrive in the event planning industry, I always say this to my people. Do you have a passion for events? Because events industry is no doubt going to take a toll on you. And if you do not have the passion to fuel you in your everyday job and tasks, do not be in this industry.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt yourself because the industry is not going to change. The event industry is always going to be a beast in terms of the fast pace, the moving targets, constantly changing. Like change is the only thing that you can guarantee on in events. And you only have one chance to do it because you're dealing with time. The events is one time and place. Once it's done, it's done. You can't go back to it. So oftentimes, a lot of our clients have this perfection mentality where things have to be perfect. And yeah, there's no way you can make it perfect, but you can try and do it as best as you can. But in order to do that, you have to have passion for creating magic. You have to have passion for all the moving targets and for the production. And so I start with that number one. Anytime I hire anyone, like the very first question I ask is, do you have passion for the events industry? Secondly, in order to keep my team engaged and excited, we pursue programs that are innovative, that have the same mindset that we do, and that is collaboration and trust, but also elevation. And so, if in that moment our team responds with anxiety, we try to do a solutions call where we talk through what is bothering you today. What are you most nervous about? And we like face that conflict head on. And oftentimes we'll share frustrations that we have with each other, frustrations about our client, about our vendors. We spend moments to gripe together as a team, and then we come up with solutions. And so having this culture where you can be comfortable to share those frustration is really important in the events industry. Setting realistic expectations of saying, we talk about this all the time in the events industry, right? The work life balance. Is it real? Probably not. But what can you really do about it? Like, is you set expectations. I encourage people all the time. I say, this is not a 9 to 5 job. You don't check in at 9 and then boom, you're done at 5 and not expect people to contact you a week before the program. Right. And so, what I encourage people to do is set expectations where, hey, in a week, my kids are going to be off of school because public school system or whatever, the holidays, right? Sometimes preschool closes for a week for no reason. And so I say, I am not going to be able to answer quickly because my kids are at home and I don't have childcare because it's expensive. So the expectation I'm setting you right now is that I'm going to do as best as I can to front load the work this week. But I'm going to be limited availability next week. So I'm going to hand off some of my work to my counterpart. And if you have any questions, go to that person. Delegating tasks is another one, right? And a lot of time event planners are type A people. They're control freaks. They don't like to
Yeah.
hand off
Yeah.
things. And so I
Yeah.
try to encourage people like if you can hand off as much as possible, like data entry. You don't need to be doing data entry. Have a event
No.
coordinator do that, right? Take breaks, go on walks. And so those are like for an example, we all work from home, at least with our agency. Honestly, we don't need to go into the office. This return to work concept is great for some of the tech companies and like maybe science industries and construction. But in the events industry or the agency side, I don't really feel a need to call people back to the office. During the day, people do laundry, people do the dishes, like they
Right.
drop off their kids and go get their nails done, whatever. Do whatever you want to take care of yourself during the day. But if you're taking an hour or 2 hours out of the day for self care, make it up in other ways. You know,
That's right. Yeah.
log on at night. If you can log on during the weekend, get up early. It's up to you. And so putting that autonomy back on them, on the planners, and giving them that agency to manage their own time and set realistic expectations and delegate has been extremely effective in managing stress and anxiety for us.
Yeah. Coming from a mindset of self care, communication, which is a through line I heard through all of that, and knowing yourself and knowing how to communicate what you need when you need it, whether it's
Yes.
delegating or a little bit more bandwidth on when you can produce your outputs and provide them. And I think that there's a shift in that thinking. And I just know that when I talk to meeting professionals, which is every single day, I have been in doing this almost 20 years, 19 years. And, I know my clients and my buyers, and I have the space to intervene and say, hold on, you don't need to get that to me by the end of the day. The event is in, 14 months from now. Let's set a realistic timetable here. Don't overexert and unnecessary stress. So
Right.
I think
Absolutely.
it's a relationship there.
Yeah, I
Hung,
think you brought up a good point too, because we have an event coordinator who hustles and she works her ass off and she's so hungry, right? Like these new up and coming professionals. And as their leader, we have to also be cognizant to not take advantage of that, and protect them
yeah,
because
well
they're young.
said.
They don't know, right? They don't
Yeah.
know yet
Yeah.
what's coming down, what's coming up ahead. And so,
Right.
for us as great leaders, we try to protect those younger hearts
Yeah.
to prevent them from burning out too.
And whether they heed it wholeheartedly or all of
Yeah,
what you're saying is one thing, but if you're making them aware and presencing it, it gets in there.
yeah.
And then sometimes you have to intervene a little bit more firm and harder than one might want to. But in the end, it's for the long term of the team and the health and energy of what you're
Oh my
producing.
gosh, yes,
Yeah.
energy is everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that dictates your day, right? If you have
Yeah.
energy, you can be negative or positive, and the negative, oh god, like I don't want
Yeah.
negativity energy.
That's another podcast.